Welcome to the Warrior Gamer Headquarters podcast. Lieutenant Colonel Ken Crigliano, your co-host.
Good evening. My name is Derek Herrera. Pleasure to be here with you guys on the show tonight. I am a former Marine infantry officer and also served in the Special Operations community as a Marine Raider team commander until I got injured in Afghanistan in 2012. And since then have been working as an entrepreneur in the medical device industry and also supporting different veterans, nonprofits, and causes. Two in particular. One is the Marine Raider Foundation, and the other one is MedTech Vets. So Marine Raider Foundation is an organization that helps support the men and women of the Marine Raider community, the Special Operations community, and their families. And MedTech Vets is a nonprofit that helps veterans find jobs in the medical device and medtech industry.
Awesome. And so this is really cool because we've had three or four folks in the medical field doing just incredible stuff, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think our audience is going to be super enthusiastic. And you are known for having like a lot of energy and a lot of drive, right?
You could say that. Yeah.
Okay.
I would agree. Yeah.
Good. So
I'm busy.
Yeah, you're very busy. And in order to be busy and be effective, you got to have a lot of dedication, motivation, inspiration, all that stuff. And every single person we have on here, we do dive a little bit into that. And so I want to ask you, if you can, for yourself, explain to me the delta between when something happens and there is an excuse to just shut down and do nothing, right? And for me, I had that too. Victim mentality and victim life, very attractive, very easy to do. But everything you've done and the energy that you bring to the world, can you just talk about a couple points of your journey on how you chose that, why you chose that?
Definitely. The reality, I think, is that for any human, you'll experience challenges, trauma, loss, health, psychological, issues. If you live long enough, you'll be challenged. And so that's why a lot of people talk about resilience and those sorts of other things. And it's coming to the forefront now a lot with stress and mental health. And a lot of people are very aware of that. For me, I had some really good things that happened to me in my life, especially after I was injured. And then I had some other things which were obviously the other end of the spectrum, not great things that had occurred. And I was also very fortunate to have a different set of life experience, or I think a unique set of life experiences, which helped me to try to move forward pretty quickly from life-changing experience. And so the things that happened, to back up and take a little bit of a higher level, what happened to me that was significant was after dedicating my life, my young, adult life, to become a special operations team commander in the Marine Corps, I found myself completely fulfilled. What I would call, if you think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, I was what I would say was, self-actualized. I was doing what I wanted to be doing with the people I wanted to be doing it with, for a cause that I really cared about, and had a full, buy-in with the missions that we were on. And so I would continue doing that for the rest of my life, like hands down, best job I ever had. And then in an instant, something happened that changed the trajectory of my life. In an instant I was, shot and paralyzed from the chest down. And so, and still am today, so that's 11 years later almost. And so when that happened, it shook me, right? It took me from that top of the pyramid, the self-actualization portion, and forced me to kind of reevaluate and put me in an entirely new light. Because up to that point in my life, I'd been building around, I built my identity around, physical challenge, leadership, and being in the military and being an active member and a contributor of these communities, the infantry and the special operations community. And now, in an instant, that's all gone, right? And what happened was I found myself in this completely different situation, which I had to adapt to and try to adjust to thrive in, right? And so I was no longer the tallest guy in the room. I was no longer the fastest runner. I was no longer able to be that type of person. But what I found was that there's still so many other things that I can do and that I can tap into to try to accomplish something for causes that I still care about. And so I had this real roller coaster of emotional highs and lows. And so emotional high, deploying to Afghanistan as a team commander for the first time in a special operations unit. And then in an instant, getting shot and paralyzed immediately from the chest down, pretty low, but fortunate to be alive and survive, right? So getting out of that situation when, we had a small team that was surrounded by enemy fighters on multiple fronts and isolated from, friendly units, lucky to be alive, right? Coming to grips with the reality that my paralysis was permanent, right? Because, there's a chance some people recover, like a very small number of people just kind of miraculously get up 6 weeks later and walk out, right? But the vast majority don't. And so kind of this ebb and flow and moving forward, and probably the lowest part where things really were challenging for me was I got injured. I got removed from the battlefield. It was about 6 weeks into a 7-month deployment. And up until that point in my entire life, everything we had done was with teams and other people. And now I'm alone, right? And this is the first time in my entire Marine Corps career where I don't have teammates or other people around me, other people I'm reporting to, or other people depending on me reporting to me. And my team was still in the Helmand province of Afghanistan for another 5-6 months where they're out there duking it out, right? And I felt really helpless, right? Because I had no ability to control or influence the outcome. And that was my job, right? And so that was tough. And then about 2 months after I got injured, another team, not my team, fortunately, but another team suffered a pretty catastrophic incident where the team commander and 2 of their Marines were killed. And so I continued to ruminate and just think about what was happening with the team, right? My guys are over there. What can I do? Nothing, the only things I can do are try to move forward, try to make something meaningful, right? Or just survive, or just like whatever, anything, right? Just like rack my brain to try to find anything I could do to try to help support them. And really there wasn't much. Once they landed and they all made it home, safely, kind of still had this ebb and flow. I moved back to California after my rehab and had gone through this, but continued to ebb and flow. But then I realized at a certain point, when you talk about the victim and the victim mentality and those other things, I was fortunate to have had this experience. And people don't ever say this, but like, I'm fortunate to have known those men who gave their life on the behalf of the nation. And those people serve as an example for me every day to be thankful and grateful for the opportunities that I have. Right. And so after a little while, once that really, cemented itself in my brain, it's like, what do I have to complain about? There's always someone that has it worse than you. And that's a pretty bad way of thinking. Sometimes you're like, but it also really puts it into perspective where you can say, maybe things aren't as bad as I think they are, right? Maybe I'm in my head, maybe if I think about the things I'm grateful for and all the opportunities that I have, I can go forward and do something I care about or something meaningful and stop feeling sorry for myself. Right. And so to that end, probably a couple months after those guys got home, like I just decided to move forward and live my life in a way that would make those men proud. Right. Because otherwise it's to kind of squander their legacy, right? Like they were over there doing these things, and I have so much freedom and so much opportunity every single day. Like it's a choice, to get up and move forward and to do something amazing. And so that was some of the things that were characteristics of my journey. And then as far as the ways to think about it, there's 2 kind of frameworks, like philosophically, that I think about and a lot of people talk about and everything else, but I've come to know just through the life experiences that I've had. And so I mentioned one, which is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And so being aware of what you're doing and why you're doing it and who you're doing it for can help you reach, new levels and new levels of achievement and higher potential within yourself. And the other one is a stoic mindset, right? And so understanding, something happened to me. What can I do about it, right? I can't just magically, invent a pill and get up and walk out of here. But what can I do, right? And then the thing that's really interesting that I'll take a step further, the one thing which I spent a lot of time talking about is, okay, we understand stoic mindset. Everybody, has heard that or knows that. What they may or may not know is, how do you know what's in your control and what's not? And the only thing I can think of, the only way that you can tell that is through consistent experimentation. And as a part of that, you have to put yourself out there and you have to fail, right? Because there's a line of what's in your control and what's not. But until you fail, you don't know where the line is. And so if you're constantly playing it safe, you're leaving, money on the table, right? You're not reaching your real potential. And so you shouldn't go crazy and fail in a way that's going to cause any sort of lasting challenge or injury or anything else. But in a thoughtful way, push yourself, right? Do hard things where you're going to fail and be okay with that, right? And that's where I see like some of the most fulfilling and most impactful times of my life is where things that I thought were out of my control, it turns out are in my control, right? And that's what I've developed, I think, is almost like a, for lack of a better term, like a superpower, right? A lot of people look at me and they're like, hey, it's amazing you're doing this, or it's amazing you're doing that. I don't think it's amazing. The one thing I've learned above all else is like how to effectively push the limits of what you think you can accomplish, right? And also understanding that it's okay to fail when you do that. Because you can't do one without the other, right? And so those are things that, I think about when I think back on what I've been fortunate to pursue and do. And the other aspects of that, there's so much we could talk about, right? I'll wrap it up. But the other things obviously are, having a support system like my family, my wife, my kids, my friends, my teammates, all those sorts of people that you can rely upon during different times, right? To help balance you out. And then the other one as part of the journey as well is having purpose and meaning and fulfillment, right? And so as for me, I'd gone back to business school part-time after I got injured, and I found myself, and I learned this about myself, which was I'm really motivated by the impact of what I'm doing. And if I care about what I'm doing and helping people or whatever the outcome is supposed to be from the challenges I'm pursuing, I'm more likely to get motivated to pursue them, right? And so I used to do that in the military, where it was our military has a mission. I believe in this mission, and I'm going to sacrifice on behalf of this, this organization. After I was unable to serve in the military, I looked for similar purpose and meaning, and I found it in the medical device industry, which was somewhere where I was able to apply the same levels of problem solving and ingenuity and innovation that I enjoyed with some of the newfound entrepreneurship and business skills that I was developing, but with a higher purpose of changing people's lives, right? Helping them. And so the innovations that we create, the devices that we build and bring to market, those businesses that create those only succeed if you really help people, right? And so that's been the second chapter of my life, right? Is, the first, 10 years of my adult life was dedicated to the military. And then, the last 10 years of my life have been dedicated to medical technology and innovation and entrepreneurship. And so, so there's a lot of stuff. So I'll go ahead and pause there. But those are some of the different things and the aspects of what I've been very fortunate to learn through an otherwise very challenging set of circumstances.
Yeah, I talk about these nuggets in our shows that people drop, right? And I think one of the coolest things that you said was the way that you phrased going after failure and going after diverse experiences and exposing yourself to many different things, put yourself out there. I have been struggling to characterize that in a way that makes sense to folks who haven't done that, because you speak from you're on the back end. You've already learned that rule, you apply it, and now you're here. Folks who are stuck over here are like, no, you don't understand. Like, I'm just trying to live. I don't need any more failures. I have so many in my luggage bin that I can't carry anymore. Okay. And so I love that it's the way to find what you're in control of. I really do love that. And I appreciate that nugget. And I know Bilal, I bet you're reaching to say something, right? And he's in medical school, by the way. And so every time we get an awesome guest like you, we are just changing the medical system.
Absolutely. And one of the nuggets that you dropped, I like the term nuggets, by the way. I'm a big chicken nuggets fan. They're so good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I try not to eat them too much, but man, can't resist. The one thing that you dropped that I really liked was kind of alluded to kind of cause and effect. Essentially, what I mean by that is you have experiences that you've had throughout your life. And just because you've had such a traumatic incident happen in your life, that didn't stop you from using those experiences and transforming it into what you're doing today. So I see this a lot from people who say, oh, well, you know, I did this in my life, this is in my life, and now all of that is going to waste. No, not all of that is going to waste. You are using some of the skills that you've learned, even if the field was completely out of center from what you're doing right now. Some of those skills are still being used into what passion that you're pursuing today. And one of the ways in which we draw this analogy is through video games. And I don't know how much of a video game background you have, but one of the things that we talk about is how the video games that people played growing up have some correlation with what they're doing today. So with that said, I'm kind of transitioning into kind of the more gaming aspect of Warrior Gamer. What is your background with video gaming?
Novice at best. So I grew up playing video games here and there.
What'd you play?
Nintendo 64, Sega, the usual. And like I got into a little bit like I forget what it was called, NBA Jam, or there was like some NBA game, you know. And actually we had, so this is how long it's been, right? Is one of the things I thought was fun at the time. I can't remember what grade I was in, maybe like third or fourth grade, but Blockbuster used to host tournaments, and you'd go and you'd play there, and you know, everything else. And so that was kind of the stuff I used to do, right? And then after that, once I got into college, I, you know, had a lot less a lot other demands on my time that I was, you know, pursuing, and so kind of gradually decreased my level of gaming. So I'd still say novice at best, but to your point of growing up doing it, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, team sports, Bilal. I mean, you know, there he goes. He's doing the team sports. He grows up a little bit and he's leading teams, kicking ass, taking names. And I see a correlation there. It makes sense to me. So we have spoken at length on previous episodes about how the game has changed. And I'm like you, where I was just doing a little bit, like my life is so busy. I'm training for the Olympics, I'm training for world championships, blah, blah, blah. And then I'm building my Air Force career, now I have a family, all this stuff. I get it. But I'm telling you, like the gaming that's happening right now is unbelievable. The humans that we are creating as a result are just unimaginable. And I urge you to refresh, just hit the refresh button and just see what's out there, because when I got hit and I had my TBI, I forced my insurance company to buy me an Xbox Connect with this game called Mind Body Connection. And I attribute my recovery to it. And it was just, what is happening right now is just incredible. And I've repeated it many times on the show, but I mean, like just the amazing stuff that's happening right now. I can't wait to see this AI trend. I mean, in 6 or 8 months, it's going to hit esports, man. You know, and Bilal, I'm very interested in your opinions on that. But I'm also interested in, you know, your entrepreneurism. What I love about what you've done, and I've done a forensic examination of what you've done since you've left, and because your incident was the same time as mine. And so people think, oh yeah, 10, 11 years is a long time. It's not, man. Like it feels like it's only been 3 years. And the harder the injury, the more compressed that time feels, I'm sure. And what you have done is you've taken things that probably frustrated you and you're like, I can solve this. Like, this is so easy. So I'm interested in to see if you could speak to some folks about why you chose these particular endeavors to help folks, and what does it mean to you, if that's okay.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Happy to chat about all this. But I just remember something else, Bilal, and to your point, I think you guys helped me remember something I'd actually forgotten, which was I forget the name of the game, but even in high school, that was when they first, like when I was in high school, they first had some of the first person
GoldenEye.
Yeah, I don't know if it was GoldenEye. It was I don't know if it was Doom or something else. But
I was just about to say.
Yeah, but there was before they had everything through the internet, right? They had a local network, and so our arcade ended up. I live in a small town, but our arcade ended up having 20 computers there, so you could go in and they'd have Friday night, you pay and whatever, all you can eat pizza and hang out all night and whatever. And so obviously that had a correlation with being in the military, right? And shooting things and that kind of stuff. So anyways, but as far as and so switch back to your question, and sorry for bouncing around. But Ken, about what I've been doing, one of the experiences I had, I was the first person in America to own a robotic exoskeleton. And it's a device that enables people who are paralyzed to stand and walk. And so after I was injured, this technology was still experimental. It was still in clinical studies. It was still not approved by the FDA. Through some relentless preparation of the environment, I convinced them to be able to allow me to obtain the device, and started using it at my office with a physical therapist. And then once it was FDA cleared, I became the first person in America to own one. I used that device to be able to stand and walk during my retirement ceremony, so I didn't have to use a wheelchair.
Is that what's on your webpage, by the way?
Yeah,
because I can show it right now. Okay, good. I'm just going to pop
it
up. Sorry.
And so this was one experience where pushing the limits, right? And so after I was injured, I was paralyzed from the chest down. I didn't know if I would ever walk again, right? But through technology, through this innovative technology, I was able to stand and walk again. And then not only was I able to do that, but I had an experience where I was able to go meet the inventor of this device. And it turns out he's a quadriplegic. So he's a guy, who was a engineer and got injured. He's from Israel. And he basically started building these things in his garage. And over 10, 15 years now, it's a real device, it's commercial, and it's helping people. And so this was another one of those experiences which, made me question what was in my control and what was not in my control, right? It's like, hey, this is now relatable, right? This is not some tangent, foreign object or foreign, idea. It's like, here's a guy who's just like me. He's not different than me. He's a guy, he was an engineer, he got injured and he took action, right? And he has changed the entire landscape in nature for not just himself, but for so many people like him, right? And so that inspired me to say, he solved that problem. What other problems am I experiencing that I can go solve, right? And as this was coming together, this was about halfway through my MBA program at UCLA. And what I started to realize and find was hey, I asked myself a simple question. It was I'm fortunate to be able to have the opportunities that I have, and I could pursue a variety of different professions. But is there something in the world that only I can do? What is my unique contribution to the world, and what can it be? And what I thought was I have the ability to solve problems. I studied engineering for my undergraduate degree, just did business. But I also live with a lot of these problems on a daily basis. So I have unique insights into the requirements, the challenges, the patient experience, right? Because I'm a patient. And if I can synthesize those two things, that will give me a competitive advantage in the business world as an entrepreneur to not only solve my own problems, but to help so many other people with it, right? And I should be able to outcycle any other company trying to solve this problem because I know it better than anybody else because I live with it every day. And so that was what I thought my unique contribution was, and that was my future. And that's what's led me to pursue the companies that I've built. And so the first one is a company called Eurodev Medical. This is a really cool device that we developed and invented. And basically it's a smart catheter for bladder management. And so
this is very clever, by the way.
Thank you.
Very clever. Yeah.
We got a phenomenal team. This is a labor of love. So the basic idea, and we had so many people that helped to invent this. And so I'm very fortunate to be one part of it, but one small part of it from a much bigger team that helped us get it there. And so the idea was, hey, for someone who's injured and has lost control of their bladder and has what they call chronic urinary retention, the current standard of care, the best thing that they can do is pull out these disposable catheters, which are small, pieces of plastic, stick it in your urethra up until it reaches the bladder, and then drain your bladder, and then you pull it out and you throw it away. That's okay once in your lifetime, maybe, right? Even once, it's pretty bad, but it's okay. Maybe it's not so bad at once, right? But if you now imagine you're paralyzed or you have a prostate issue or you deal with this on a chronic basis now, 6, 8, 10 times a day, you're doing that. And I was 28 when I got injured, right? So like I'll live a long life, right? Like that adds up. And so I found myself actually had this experience where when I first got passionate about this, I suffered from a lot of the complications about this. I found myself with a urologist at Camp Pendleton, and I'm on the table and he's like doing the stuff. He's like, yeah, we got intermittent catheters, Foley catheters. That's pretty much it. And like, there's gotta be a better way. Right. And he's like, nope, that's it. That's fine. And so literally at that moment, I became obsessed with trying to solve the problem. And what this device does, basically, it's a device that can go fully inside your body. And you have a remote control, and you can actually just push a button on a remote to empty your bladder. And then you push a button again, it'll close this valve, this magnetically controlled valve, and you can go about your day. And so instead of having to insert a catheter every time you go to the bathroom, this device can stay there for an extended period of time, and you can remotely control urination, which is more natural and more,
Wow, it's like analogous to the automatic insulin pump in a way. You just do it once.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. We actually learn, and I've actually got an opportunity to do this. I got to learn how to insert a catheter, and I thought there's no chance that I would want this done to me. I could only imagine how bad it is. Yeah.
So this was the first idea that we had, and we literally started with a napkin sketch and like a whole lot of like motivation in 2015 when I graduated from business school. And I'm happy to say that it's a real device and it works now, but we're still not on the market. We're still working through some of the clinical and regulatory issues. But this is my first company. I recently hired a CEO and left this company to start a new company. And so the second company I started is actually one called Habit Camera. And this one, we licensed technology from the VA and basically created a really simple, low-cost consumer product that helps people inspect their skin. And so skin inspection is a big deal for a lot of people, but especially for people at risk of foot ulcers and pressure sores. And so if you're a wheelchair user, you're sitting all day. The body's not designed to do that, right? And so you have these very advanced cushions. You have all these things that you do to try to help manage your skin and make sure you don't get ulcers and that sort of stuff, because it can be really, really, problematic or even deadly if you get these things and you're a wheelchair user. And so I have friends that, what happens is their muscle will degrade and basically go almost, it can go all the way down to the bone where your skin is just, dying. And then to heal it, to heal that wound and you're in a wheelchair is really hard. I have friends that they were stuck in a bed for like 6 to 9 months after they've had a really advanced surgery to create a flap. try to build up their buttocks, right? It's also an issue for people with diabetes. So a lot of people have foot ulcers. There's like, I think maybe like 100, don't quote me on this, but it's somewhere close to 100,000, what they call lower extremity amputations every year. And that's from, the similar thing that happens on their foot, right? And so they don't have good circulation, and they start to get, skin breakdown and ulcers and these types of things on their feet, diabetic foot ulcers, what it's called. And then a lot of times it results in an amputation, and so it's pretty bad. And so this device is a simple, low-cost tool to be able to let you actually see what's going on with your skin. And so right now, there's not really a simple low-cost tool. What they give you is they give you like a mirror on a stick, like a selfie stick with a mirror. But then they ask you to
that's awful.
Check your skin every day, and you're craning around and you're looking like this, or people with diabetes, a lot of these people have bad eyesight, right? And so you try to get them to put it under their foot, and they look, and they can't. There's no way they can see it, right? So this is a really simple idea, but one that we've worked to build, and so really excited about that. And this one's a little bit of a different flavor. It's a really small family business, so it's my wife and I that run this and build everything and ship them out, all that stuff. So it's been a lot of fun. Whereas with Eurodev Medical, right, we had to raise a significant amount of capital from investors to build that and bring it to life. And so that's a habit camera. And then the third one that I started recently, about a year ago, it's a company called Bright Euro. And this is a company, we're also licensing technology from the Cleveland Clinic, and have raised money from investors to bring this product to market. But it's a miniature sensor for the bladder. And what we use it for initially is for diagnosing certain lower urinary tract conditions, so that doctors have the information they need to be able to treat you properly. And so this test is terrible. So urodynamics is a terror. So you thought inserting a catheter was bad? Wait till you hear about urodynamics, Bilal. This one,
I saw the video on this. It's
terrible. So urodynamics is the most comprehensive diagnostic evaluation they can offer for the lower urinary tract. So if you have things like stress urinary incontinence, overactive bladder, prostate issues, any sort of complex symptom presentation, they do this test called urodynamics. And what it requires is you go in, you lay on a table, they stick a catheter in your bladder, another one in the rectum or the vagina. You lay there with your feet in stirrups. They drain your bladder. They pump it full of fluid until it feels like it's going to explode in about 10 minutes. And then once you feel like you're going to explode, they ask you to urinate with the catheters hanging from your body and people watching you and all this stuff, right? And then when they do that, what they're looking at is they're looking at squiggly lines on the computer that measure the pressure. They're looking at the pressure that the bladder generates. And then they're looking at another little line which measures the flow of the urine that's coming out of your bladder. And so the bladder is a really interesting organ. It's an organ, what some of my mentors and doctors have termed an organ of social convenience, right? It doesn't do anything. It just holds urine and empties urine. That's all it does. But when it doesn't work, it's a pretty big deal, right? It changes your life. And so what we developed, instead of having to use multiple catheters and sitting in the chair hooked up to this pump and this giant machine and a laptop and a printer, we're bringing this process into the 21st century. So we've created a miniature sensor that can be inserted fully into the bladder, stay there for a period of time and record this data. And then you can walk around, you can urinate in privacy, you can do all these different things. But it offers a more physiologic, a more relevant exam, a more comfortable and a more private exam for the patients. And then you pull the device out and we can download the data. And this one's been a lot of fun because we're only able to do this today in a meaningful fashion because of the advances in technology, especially, electronics and smartphones. And so instead of having a laptop and a printer and this whole giant machine that you're hooked up to, we've miniaturized everything that you need into that small tube that goes in your bladder. So on that sensor, there's a microprocessor, flash storage, Bluetooth, a miniature power source, and an actually very advanced pressure sensor. But we can do this all in a very low cost way so that this unit is disposable. So you pull it out and you throw it away. And so this is the basis of our system. But in addition to the system, we have some other components as well. But when you talk about AI and machine learning, we're actually able to integrate a lot of that into our system, because what we've created is a connected health platform, a connected ecosystem. So we're able to aggregate this de-identified information and create a large repository of it. And so we have this data that's available for us to utilize, advanced data science techniques like AI and machine learning to help improve the way that doctors conduct these evaluations. And the long term, the end goal is just that with better information, doctors can make better decisions and patients can make better decisions about the treatments that they want to receive. So there's a lot of therapies out there. A lot of money gets invested in, there's 10 different ways that a doctor can solve your prostate issue with surgeries and surgical interventions. But there's still only 180 to urodynamics, and it sucks. It's terrible. So if we have a better way to do it and we can offer better information, we're confident that it'll help to improve, the outcomes for patients, which is a big deal. A lot of people don't talk about this stuff, or they don't know about it. But the reality is, especially, we're all men on this podcast. And the reality is if you live long enough as a man, you're going to need help. You're going to have prostate issues. So 100% of men over the age of 90 have prostate issues. And 50% of men over 50, right? So it's not like you gotta wait till you're 90 to get this. Like half of men over 50 have what's called BPH, or benign prostate hyperplasia, which is a prostate issue. And it sucks. It changes your life. You gotta get up 5 times a night to pee. You feel like you have to pee all the time. It's a mess. And there's similar issues with females, right? Like females that have children, a lot of times have different aspects of either stress urinary incontinence or other types of incontinence, or overactive bladder. But I found this niche in urology out of personal need, because the situation is terrible, right? It sucks. These things are this is really life changing. It's not going to kill you, fortunately. A lot of the stuff, you're not going to die necessarily from overactive bladder. But man, it'll wreck your life. It'll make you wish you were dead.
So
having to feel like you pee every 15 minutes, right? This kind of
I
stuff.
have personal experience with this, and I've gone through the test, and because I lost my ability after my accident to moderate those functions. And I have 2 people in my family that, one at the urination aspect of just, and I'm not talking to you, Derek, but people out there don't understand, you don't have basic functions over your limbs. Going to the bathroom is a terrifying, frustrating thing. And there's secondary and tertiary effects where they don't drink water, they don't want to eat food because they don't want to go to that bathroom. And their health it's just this extremely fast downhill cycle because they're not getting nutrition. And then after birth too, that is a big deal. And what I want to hit on this is that you live through this, and most people, they go through the medical community, and I do rail on this, on our episode, but they go through medical community and they're like, well, everything I'm presented must be everything possible out there. So if I just have to deal with this thing, and I just deal with it, and they suffer in silence. Well, now guys like you and technology that's out there is enabling people to go, you know what? I don't want to deal with this. I'm going to try to fix this. I'm going to try to solve it. And I think where you talked about going out and not being afraid to fail is directly saving people's lives and extending people's lives. I don't think that that's a wrong assessment, right?
It's the goal every day. This is what drives me every day, right? And I love what I do, right? So the first time that a device that I drew on a napkin sketch went inside of a patient's body, and they're like, man, I forgot what it was like to urinate because I've been using catheters for 10 years. This is rad. This is really cool, right? Never in a million years would I have predicted the joy that I would feel, right? And I'll never forget that day, right? But that's a level of fulfillment and joy that is to me unforgettable and remarkable, because you have an impact on people's lives, right, with this type of thing. And so this is what's been my purpose and my mission, since transitioning. And this is why I'm so excited to get up and go and to take action every day. But to your point about failure, yeah, if it could have been very easy to say, well, yeah, I had this idea
Good part.
No way.
No.
No, he didn't cut off for you, did he?
Job or
Oh, there he is.
Oh,
man.
yeah. Welcome back.
Sorry. My internet connection is unstable.
Unfortunately.
So I was saying, yeah, so this is my mission. This is why I'm so excited to get up and go to work every day, right? And certainly I could have thought about it and like, well, yeah, I really wish I would do that, but like, you know, I'm scared, or I'm going to miss out, or I'm going to not like have a very stable career, or I'm not going to get paid for a couple months or years or whatever, right? But you got to be comfortable. Like everybody has to be comfortable taking risk and failing, right? Like you can't live your life safe from everything all the time. You know, like you got to go for it, right?
Yeah, when folks call me and they're like, you know, like, I just don't feel like getting out of bed, man. I'm like, no one, you're not responsible for anybody. Like, you need to get out there and have people rely on you, right? Like, you need to go volunteer, number one. If you're not making like medical products in your garage that are going to go inside human beings and bebop trons out of them, like, you need to get up and go volunteer at the Special Olympics or the animal shelter or whatever, and have that feeling of like, if I don't get up, someone's not going to make it today, or something isn't going to make it, right? And I think that that's a big driving. You love that, right? You love that feeling.
Yeah, I mean, it's life. Like, you feel alive,
yeah.
Right? And I don't say this to be dismissive of anything, because there are like real physiological things that contribute to mental health and depression and those types, and anxiety and all those other things. So like, but barring that, when you think about the example of someone who, if it's not clinical, right, or it hasn't been, the clinical side's been addressed, but it's someone who's just kind of on the fence or wandering, or, you know, I don't know what the right term is, but just not choosing to take advantage of those opportunities. It's not living, right? Like, it's just existing. Right.
Yeah,
so
you're accelerating death or you're accelerating life. I mean, that's basically your decisions.
Yeah, just stealing oxygen, right? Like, you know, and so if they're able to make the choice and they have the capacity and they have the tools, and it's not like a clinical diagnosis of, yeah, this person can't get out of bed because they're like, you know, it's a clinical reason. You have the choice and you have the capacity to be able to do so much. And when you go to the fringe and push, that's where you feel alive, right? Like you have to have risk. You have to be willing to take the risk, and you have to have that fear of failure. I don't know how any other way to live, right? Like, right. If your life was safe all the time and you never were going to fail and you were never afraid of anything or never stressed, like that's a big fallacy, right? So we can just try to make life easier and more stable and safer and all this stuff, right? But if that ever happens where we get to the point where life is like, you know, completely predictable, completely safe, I don't know that I want to live that life, right? Like it's not real. There's nothing to be gained from that, right? Like there's nothing to be learned from that, you know?
But that's what society is teaching me, Derek. I mean, I need to buy this TV. I need to get this really nice couch. You know, I need to just sit down, watch TV. I need to sleep in my box, eat box cereal, go to work in my box, type the computer in the box, come home, watch the box. I mean, what are you telling me, man? You're telling me all this stuff is not true? Yeah.
Well, you don't want to know what I think about the rabbit hole that you're bringing me down. But and this might not be the right thing to say, since, you know, I'm on the gamer podcast, but like, get up, get outside, go do something, man. Like, you know, oh man, life is beautiful. There's so much opportunity. There's so many things that you can do, you can be a part of, you can contribute to, you can accomplish. Merely surviving or existing is it makes me sad, right? Like to hear that people deal with that, or anybody that like is willing to accept that, right? especially in different ages. Like, so different ages, right? Like, people that are retired, they're like, I worked my ass off for 50 years and now I'm going to hang out, right? Like, cool, got it. But if you're like in your prime, right, and your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50, I mean, I don't know. I'm getting old, right? I just turned 39. So I feel great. Like, still push the limit every day, right? Like, I'm going to keep pushing until I die, So
if someone, I'm sure you've gotten this where you get the haters on there and they're like, they either don't believe the story or they're just like, you know what, man, I don't care what this dude says. Like, I'm just not motivated to do anything. There's no point. What is all this? Society has screwed me over. I'm a victim, all this stuff. And they have the story. Are you able to turn these people around? Or are you just like, look, man, I did mine. You got to figure out yours. Like, what is your role when you encounter folks like that?
Honestly, I've been really lucky. I think I don't know anybody that's really like, at least not to my face. Nobody's talked shit to my face, which
no one's called you for advice or family or friends.
Oh no, people call me for advice all the time. Yeah, I talk to people. But as far as like haters, where they're like, oh, he said this, that's not real, whatever. I don't lie about it. I'm not here to be a guru, right? Like, that's not my life. Like, I come on shows and stuff just to talk because it's fun and people ask me to, and I hope it helps. And people tell me that sometimes it helps. But I'm living my life, right? Like, my life is that's my job, right? Like, I'm out trying to change people's lives by innovation, like improving their lives through innovation, right? And that's what I do all day and all night, right? And hang out with my family, right? And that's me. That's what I do, right? But when I talk to people and I share these stories and I talk about this, my goal is to hope that they can learn something from it, or they can benefit in some way, or take a nugget, that may or may not help them to move forward and to continue to accomplish something new. So I don't think anybody can snap you out of anyone out of any of this thing. Like, if you're in this space, and I could be wrong, like, so, like, again, clinical diagnosis notwithstanding, we all make choices, right? So, like, I want to believe that people can make a choice and that they have that power, because this is what I found out. This is what I know to be true, is we are more powerful than we know. Every human, right? What limits us is our minds, right? Like, we're capable of so much if we allow ourselves to be, and if we choose to be. And so, not making the choice, you have to make that choice yourself. No one can convince you. No one can, like, you can hear motivational speakers and you can talk about all this. You can hear all that stuff, and it can kind of help you, but until you take ownership and make the choice and commit and go, all in to pursuing what you want to pursue, you're not going to make change, right? Like, it's hard to change.
Yeah.
But every human can, right? Every human has that capacity, right? And that's what I believe. That's what I know to be true.
Yeah, I know in your previous statement of you have a team, we talked about this, I think about 3 episodes below, where it's like, for me, I live by a couple truths, which is there's someone in a hospital bed somewhere that would give everything to be in my spot, no matter how bad it is. And so that keeps me pushing forward. And then there is the system that caused the problem can't be the same system that fixes the problem. And so you need outside help. You need a team. You need external input to help change the system that keeps causing the problems over and over again. And I love your story of, like, I mean, you did a lot of that yourself, where you just said, hey, my boys are still over there. Like, I'm not going to disrespect them by becoming a victim. Like, I'm going to stand up and I'm going to do something. And you just carried that mentality, and you had a team, you had a family, and That's so important. And if you don't have a family that supports you and friends that you support you, you got to find them. You got to get in circles where there's, 10 Dereks, 3 Kens and 5 Bilals or whatever it is, and those people will help you. And I think that that's a huge component, because people just try to suffer in silence. They think that nobody wants to listen to their story or help them. And it's not, I don't think that's accurate,
Yeah. And I think that's something that it's amazing that you guys are doing, right? Is trying to build community and leverage gaming as a tool to facilitate that, right? And so I couldn't agree more. Like, community means something. It's meaningful. And I think everybody can agree now, after years of challenges with certain policies and things, about isolation, right? Like, you talk about which you described before, of being, a small cog in the matrix, right? Of like, go to work, consume, produce, consume, come home, be safe. That it's no way to live, right? People need social collaboration, interaction, in-person interaction, for any sort of long-term survival, right? Like, it's a need, it's basic. And so if you talk about even, with Maslow, right? Like, there's a need for belonging, right? And community. So that's what I think too. And so I would agree with everything you said, Ken. And also commend you for trying to build this community and create these opportunities for all the people that are getting involved with, the foundation.
Yes. And I know Bilal can sum this up as well, but there are folks who have retreated to the virtual worlds, game, esport, to an excess, just like there's people who do fitness to an excess that's unhealthy, and there's people who do nothing that's also unhealthy. And so we're trying to bring leadership in this industry to go, look, we've been there, we've done that, and you've got to have moderation. You got to use things appropriately, make the right decisions, push yourself, don't feel your failure, which April talks about all the time. Gaming, encourages failure, all the time in these people. And it's just incredible. So I love it. And I'm going to show, some folks may not be familiar with Maslow. So I'm just going to show, an image here. I think you guys see it?
This is correct.
Yeah.
This
is it. So this is one that was really impactful for me. There's another one. There's one thing which I've read some of the text, and I don't know if it's been fully kind of fleshed out or not, or potentially Maslow passed away before and someone else had picked up the torch. But the only thing that the newer one that I saw added was that it's not completely binary, that you can be operating in different areas of your life at different levels at the same time. And so, for example, when I had gotten shot and injured, I was fighting for survival, right? Like, physiological needs, like that was where I was. But at the same time, the things that, I was trying to do and pursue were also at the, self-actualization level, right? Like, and so there can be a spectrum and a gradual shift in and out of these different states. But the beauty of this is it kind of gives a visualization of, in like a simple way, like really simple way. I'm a Marine, right? Like, so we break things out super simple, right? Because we're not the smartest branch, like, the Air Force guys. So keep it super simple. But if you know why you're doing what you're doing and what's motivating you to do it, your awareness is increased, which means you can then have better information and make better decisions about, should I still be doing this? Do I still want to be doing this? Is there a better way to be doing this? And similarly, and as importantly, you understand why other people, or you can at least try to understand why other people are doing what they're doing too. Right?
Yeah, because other people piss me off. I mean, they're a source of most or all of my frustrations. They're okay. Everybody else. So you're telling me if I learn this, it helps me deal with other people because they're probably angry or upset and they're trying to meet their needs somehow or some way, right?
Yeah, I think that's going to work for you.
Okay.
Yeah, it just makes you aware, right? So it doesn't make you feel any better about things all the time. You know, if things still don't go your way, or the people aren't doing what you hope they would be doing, but it makes you aware, right? It gives you something to strive for, right? It's like, and you can check yourself with that too, right? That's a good one to check yourself with. It's like, I'm frustrated today. I wanted this to happen and it didn't happen. You know, was what I wanted to happen, you know, why did I want that to happen, right? Was it out of the right reasons or the wrong reasons, right? Because if it was the wrong reasons, maybe I'm going about this thing all wrong, right? Where it's like, you know, my boss is a jerk, you know, he didn't, you know, he said something mean to me, right? Was it about that? Was it because, am I mad because my boss pointed something out to me that's a reflection that I'm not operating at the highest levels of performance and I'm not accomplishing the mission, the altruistic mission or the purpose that I've set out to accomplish? Or is it because he punked me in front of my friends and, you know, and I look stupid, right? Because those are two separate reasons to feel a certain way. And like, I do a lot of dumb stuff, but like another thing I've gotten over is looking stupid, right? Like, I'll never feel bad about looking stupid because I'll be the first one to tell you I'm not the smartest person, right? Like I'm, you know, like, that's expected, right? But it doesn't hurt my feelings, you know, if I'm stupid, right? Or I do something, whatever, doesn't make sense because I'm focused on the higher goal, which is like, I'll tell you up front, I don't know all of the stuff I didn't know how to build a medical device, right? Like, cool, I don't know this, but can you help me? Like, because this is what I want to accomplish. I want to be up here, right? I want to build this device that's going to change people's lives. That's self-action. Like that's what I'm shooting for, right? I want this to up here. So any perceptions of me being a dummy, right? Doesn't matter. Not going to affect me, you know?
I can always tell people who've experienced failure in certain areas because they'll be so humble and modest because they know that if they walk in there confident and cocky and they fail, they're going to hit hard. So, and I have too, where I'll go into something, I'm like, hey, look, you know, I might be way off here, but this is my current interpretation of the situation. And I know you're the expert and I am willing to take any and all feedback, corrective, you know, guidance. And you can't believe the amount of good reception from that. People will respect that you are like going, hey, you know, I may not know what I'm doing here, but I'd love for you to help me out. Yeah. And it's way better than going there and be like, man, you guys messed up, you guys are stupid, blah blah blah, you know.
Yeah,
man, I get so many B's with that, honey. It's just incredible.
Yeah, and Bilal probably has seen this too. I don't know if they teach this in your school, but one of the things I learned initially and I didn't understand, or I had no appreciation for when I was like a young Marine officer. But now have like completely flipped the script and like learned a lot better. And it's about the value of asking good questions. And so sometimes, you know, one aspect or one way is through the Socratic method, right? And so like when I was a young Marine, I hated it because it was like, I'd ask, you know, the instructor, we'd be doing this exercise and we'd ask for the answer and he'd answer the question with a question, right? And never tell you the answer. And you're like, dude, come on. Like, there's a right way to do this. What's the right way, right? But now in my older self, I can appreciate the real value that comes from just asking good questions, right? And like, so.
And that's actually how I tutored. I would answer a question with a question. And even my friends would do that with me too. Sometimes I would get really frustrated and I need a quick answer. I'm like, hey, what does this mean? What do you think it means? Oh, you're really doing this? It's the best way to learn because it forces you to uncover everything you thought was right and then completely just crumple it up and throw it away, because now you are realizing, hey, I got this wrong. I didn't watch somebody else make the mistake and say, haha, can't be me. No, I made that mistake and I learned from it better. And so that again hints to what you were saying, that you need to be ready to fail, right? You know, a wise man does learn from other people's failures, sure, but a wise man also knows how to take a beating, right? So you need to be ready to take that beating.
Definitely.
100%.
You're taking your licks
All right.
in med school, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I have to hear it whenever we
Beatings.
go off recording. I hear it. I love it.
Beatings will continue.
Yeah, and he's doing extra stuff too, because he's trying to change the system from the inside, or improve the system from the inside, and it's super exciting, you know.
You know, it's finals week. Actually, I had one yesterday. I have another tomorrow. We're having fun. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I don't miss that, man. I just don't miss it.
Don't miss. Wait to be done with this.
Yeah, be patient. You got years, buddy.
Oh yeah. In time.
All right, so we're gonna wrap this up. And Bilal, he's hit all the wave tops for me, man. It's been pretty awesome. Do you have any parting questions, words, comments, concerns?
Me,
Bilal?
No, I'm good.
All right. So if you could just tell us, 10 years, what's the 5-10 year vision for you, if you don't mind, if you can talk about it.
Yeah. I put it out there. So like I'm a big fan of like saying things, right, at the risk of looking dumb, right? Because it's in public. You say something in public, man, like it gives you all the motivation to do it even more. So my goal is to be a successful entrepreneur in the medical device industry. And the way that I'll assess that is how many people I can help with the technologies that we develop and bring to market. So right now, still active with the all three companies that I've started in the past, 10 years are active and doing well. The model is that at some point, hopefully we'll build enough value that those will either be, acquired by another company, or we'll just build giant companies because they're helping so many people and they require and need that type of workforce and support. And so I've been fortunate to build a really strong network in urology, but also just, the different aspects of the challenges that I live with on a daily basis. And so I will continue doing that to try to help as many people improve their lives as possible, and try to be the best medical device entrepreneur that I can be, and leader to accomplish that mission. So I love what I'm doing and keep doing it as long as I can, and as long as I think I can help people.
Well, I honor you, and I appreciate you taking up the service, uniform services, wearing uniform, going out there. I was out there when you were out there. It was awesome. And we need people like us on both sides. I love seeing entrepreneurism, and I am overjoyed to see military members who leave and become entrepreneurs, because that is exactly what we're protecting with Don that uniform. And I honor you for what you're doing, and just another amazing guest who is doing incredible things in the world. I can't believe that we're just getting nonstop. And I want to thank you for coming here, taking time out of your unbelievably busy life and rewarding life to help folks and to help us as well.
I appreciate it. And I appreciate the opportunity to come share, and really a pleasure to chat with you guys. And thanks for the opportunity, and thanks for all that you guys are doing with the organization and the foundation to help a lot of people. So it's really cool. And I'm a big fan. So keep up the good work.
Thank you. And my goal is to get you in one of these competitions. So we'll see if we can squirrel you away, even if you have to play remote. And with that, Warrior Gamer Headquarters podcast show